So the first step to replacing the intake is to remove these two 10mm bolts. And there's a MAF sensor right over here that you have to unplug, and then also a clamp that you have to remove with a screwdriver or with a 6mm socket. So to remove the MAF sensor, I'm just going to use a flathead screwdriver to unclip it. And then to remove the hose clamp, just a 6mm socket. So it was too short earlier, so I just made it a little bit longer with an extension. Okay. So now we're going to have to remove the piping from the intake. And to loosen the snorkel, you just have to get a screwdriver, right, and then go over here and pry it out. Pry it. There's a little locking tab over here and one on the inside. Make sure that this rubber grommet is still here because sometimes it falls out. So here are the intakes side by side. This is the original intake, and this is the Euro intake. So for the original intake, you have to remove the airbox, and then these Torx bolts, or these Torx screws, to change your air filter out. And it uses a flat panel filter. For the Euro intake, you don't have to remove the airbox, you just remove the Torx bits over here. And then it uses a cone filter. There, you can actually see it better from the intake duct. Yeah, so there's the cone filter. So I'm going to transfer my original MAF sensor over to the Euro intake. The one that it came with was, it should be the same since it was used from a forum member. And then there's the 5-pin connection right there. And then compared to my original one is also a 5-pin connection. And it looks exactly the same, but I don't want to run into any errors because this one is a Continental. So the new one that it came with is a Continental, and the original one is a VDO. So I'm going to be swapping this one over to the Euro intake. And to swap out the MAF sensors, all you need is a T25 bit. Here's the original sensor on the left and the new sensor on the right. And I'm pretty sure this is not the sensor that comes on the Euro intake. This should be a US spec MOF sensor. So I'm actually going to take it apart to look at the difference between the two. So here's the flat filter. This is how it connects to the car. So the air goes in from here and then goes into the engine right here. For the Euro intake, the air, it mounts in the car like this, and then the air intake from the front of the car brings the air in this way, and then it gets sucked out into the engine right here. So this is how it looks after installing the bottom piece of the airbox. And then some people actually run their Euro intake without the cover on to make it a little bit louder. And then reattach all the screws.